I know half of you, because the other half I can't see. You're all wearing masks, so there's kind of an unequalness here. But happy to see you after over a year of doing this Mass. It's just great to be here. And for all of you in home stream, live stream, we're happy to have you with us also. We're slowly all coming back. I just say to y'all, just be careful. Live your lives, but be careful. That's all. Just be careful. Today, the Gospel is interesting because last week we talked about from John, and Jesus appeared to his disciples. This is taken from a different Gospel today, and it's very interesting. It starts with recounting the story of the two men on the road to Emmaus. You know the story of the two men on the road to Emmaus and how they came to discover Jesus in the breaking of the bread. After all that journey with him, Jesus sat down and he broke bread with them. And as he broke the bread with him, they came to understand that was Jesus. And they were just filled with joy. Matter of fact, there was so much joy in their life that they ran back to Jerusalem. And they were telling, at this time in the Gospel, they were telling everybody about, we have seen the Lord, and we saw him in the breaking of the bread. That's when we saw him. That's when the Lord truly appeared to our eyes. And not within a few moments after they say this, then Jesus appears again to the 11. And what happens? They become very afraid. Even the two that recognized him in the breaking of the bread, all of them were scared to death. They thought they were seeing a ghost. Can you believe that, how life changes so quickly sometimes? We see the Lord and sometimes we're not sure about it. Well, this is the disciples. The disciples are all afraid. And Jesus says, peace, peace. I'm not a ghost. Look at my hands. A ghost does not have flesh. Look at how I look, what I look like. They don't have, a ghost doesn't have bones. I have bones. Believe in me, trust in me. But they're still very, very questionable about what they are seeing and what's gone on and what all these things have happened in their lives. See, these are the disciples who followed Jesus very closely. And even though they have followed him very closely and they see him again, and the two men on the road to Emmaus saw him again before, they still question what was going on. So he said to them, do you have anything to eat? Of course, he did that because a ghost does not eat. And they gave him some fish, and he ate. They still did not understand. Even though you would think their hearts would be a little lighter, they still did not understand. So he had to explain to them further from the prophets, back to the Old Testament, to the prophets, to the Psalms, to everything that's been talked about the Messiah, what the Messiah must do, that he must suffer, that he must die. And they hear that, they understand that, but they really don't quite understand yet. A story on this Sunday morning about a young man. He was rather self-confident. He decided to go on a hike and spend a few days in the woods. So he got all his gear together, went into the woods. Before he went in the woods, somebody said to him, there's an old man in there, he's a very holy man. I hope you get to meet him. He said, oh, I love to meet him. So as he went into the woods, hoping that he would meet the man, didn't find him. But about late in the evening, all of a sudden he heard a rustling, and the old man came out, but he had in his hand a dish. And the dish was a lot of things like bread and like meat. And he said, sir, how are you? He said, I'm fine, young man. And the young man said, where are you going? He said, me and God are going to talk together, and I'm going to feed him, give him something to eat. I do this every night. So he went out further, put the food down, and went back to his home. The next day, he said to the man, "Sir, trust me. You are not seeing God and talking to God. You're talking to that man. You are feeding a wolf out there in the darkness." And the old man said, "No, it's God. I'm feeding God. I'm talking to God. I'm praying to God." He said, "Tonight, go out and hide behind a bush and see what you see. Trust me." So the next thing happened. The old man went out to the wood late at night, put the things down where he generally puts the things down, goes behind a tree, begins to pray to God and talk to God. And about that time, a wolf came up and ate the food. The man was devastated. He went home. He didn't know what to say. And the young man said, "I told you, trust me." And the young man said, "Yes." That man said, "Yes, I know." And then the young man left. He felt very confident that he had told the young man the truth about his experience with feeding the wolf. And while he laid in bed that night, God came to the young man and said, "Young man, what did you just do?" He said, "I just told him the truth." He says, "What truth are you talking about?" He said, "What you left me? You left me with a man who doesn't now know how to pray or experience me in any way, shape, or form. Plus you have a very hungry wolf out there." That's a very interesting story, isn't it, huh? But it really goes along with the gospel. Jesus, when he comes to us, doesn't come to us because we call him. He comes to us because he loves us. We are not the ones who tell God, "This is what you do," or "This is who you are," and "This is what you should be doing," and "This is what you're supposed to do." God comes to us, not us going to God. Our response is that we go to God because God calls us, But the reality is that so many times in our life we think we have the truths. But the truth is not necessarily correct. God is the one who shows us the way. And notice that every time God calls us, he says something to us in profound ways. "Peace, I leave you." See, today, the gospel saw Jesus came in a way they least expected in their life. And he said to them, "Peace be with you." My brothers and sisters, how does this relate to you and to me today in our relationship with our God? In this world today, God's being shown all around. We experience God in places we least expect. And many times you and I are afraid of what we see. But God always says, "Reach out to me. Don't be afraid. It is me." I want you to do yourselves a favor during the week. Ask yourself, how do I see God in my life? It's an interesting question. And I have to give you once again a story about my own personal life. about experiencing God. Having that theology teacher saying to his class, Bill, you go out and you tell me how you see God. And after many, many weeks of just reflecting on that, it was my turn to stand before the class and say, how do I experience God? I said, first of all, I like experiencing primarily in two ways. I love to go to Colorado. I love to go up in the mountains, and I love to sit down. And while I'm sitting down, it's breezy up there. And every time a breeze comes by, I know God is with me. The second is working down in New Orleans in a black community. I was teaching black children, if that's correct today, say the word black. But they would be on the playground. And in the playground, they would always buy a unique kind of treat for themselves. They loved dill pickles. And they would get out there, and they would eat their dill pickles. They would dance around with their dill pickles, and I said, hello, God, how are you? So God is those children dancing around with that dill pickle. How do you see God? He comes to you in wonderful ways. And he says to you, peace.